Hey, okay, cool. So, yay, well, hello, Huggies. I am recording this guy, just so you know. So if anyone can't be here because they're in science class, which I completely understand, then hopefully you can refer back to it later. Today, I hope you guys are doing well. I know some people have to be in their science class right now, which I completely understand. But I figured today I could take some time to just kind of go over some FRQ stuff, since that is mainly what we're going to be doing for the exam. And by mainly, I mean the only thing we're going to be doing. And so the work, or like homework, is basically the FRQ that I posted on Classroom that we're going to start doing together. It's good practice because it's a former AP question, so that's good. I modified it to fit the new format, and it's good work to use notes without Googling anything, because that's the trick. Use your notes, don't Google. As tempting as it's going to be, just don't do it. Awesome. So I'm going to share my screen. Hopefully this will work and none of my friends are going to send me anything obscene. I don't think so. I closed some stuff out. All right. So it says that I'm presenting my screen. So hopefully you guys can see it now. If not, and I'm just talking to nonsense and referring to things and you can't see it, then please let me know. But for starters, that is not for your class. Cool. So this is the FRQ that is posted. That is going to be the quote homework that we'll start working on today. If you do complete the FRQ, then upload any work that you do to Classroom and you'll receive credit for it. It's everything from here on out is pass or incomplete. So if you don't do it, you don't get a 0. It'll just go in as an incomplete. What we need to do is keep track of, wait, sorry, I can't see anything. We need to keep track of the engagement of all students, just so we can make sure we can give people who are showing up for Google Classroom meetings, who are doing the work, who are emailing teachers, that we can give you credit for the course. Okay, so that's something you definitely want to do, because I love all of you very much, but I don't think you want to take one semester of AP Human Geography again. So yes, love you all. I don't think that's the top of your list. Wouldn't be the worst though. Okay, so now we're looking back at the screen. So I posted a couple things. First, FRQ resources. So this is the first one that I wanted to look over. Okay, and so in this, oops, sorry, just want to make sure we're there. This is posted for you. These are strategies to help you prepare for the exam for how to answer the question. Okay. The first one that you see up there is know that you can type your response. So I highly recommend that you type it. As long as it's not on your phone. If you can take the exam on your phone, but my concern is any technological issue that you have, you're not going to get any allowance for. So if your phone keeps freezing or if your connection is bad, then they're not going to let you redo it. So that's why I recommend using a laptop or a computer. If you don't have one, just direct message me and I will coordinate with the school to get you something to use. Make sure you read the question fully. We've gone over this, including the stimulus material. Stimulus reminder is going to be the graphs or maps. What are your tasks? Brainstorm. Answer all parts of the question. And do not include extra examples since you will not get credit for them. And the questions are not purposely constructed to trick you. It's just that the person that wrote them thinks that they're clearer than they really are. So it's not that you don't know it, it's just to the person asking, it makes sense. So you just kind of need to scrape off the top layer in order to get to what they're trying to get at. And usually it's a definition or some kind of big concept. And we'll practice that together with this FRQ. Here are some examples of like what happened when it says, assume that whatever you're being asked follows is typical. That just means that you don't have to be an expert on current events. You don't have to know everything that's going on in every country of the world in terms of their economy, in terms of agriculture, in terms of whatever. If you understand generally how population pyramids work, then you can apply that to anything. If you know how the demographic transition model works, you don't have to be an expert on all of the countries in Africa and Asia at this point in time, but you can make some general statements. And that's when we get into the next one there, where you want to use stuff like often or the general pattern. That's great language to use. If you know the word, then you can use that language there. Don't say I think, just don't. Ever, really. Yeah, don't do that. And then whenever you discuss something, your favorite word is because. And guys, you seriously, you got this. I really think you should all feel very good about this right now because you're doing great. Right. So that is there for you as a tool, as a reference that you can refer back to at any time. Other information that's here is this is the 2020 exam information. So we are on Central Time, so this means that you're taking it May 12th at 3 p.m. Okay, so that's just about a month from today. You can take it on whatever. Again, I'm just saying I'm worried about phones, but that doesn't mean you can't do it. This document has some hyperlinks to some videos that you can use, as well as this overview of the test stuff. 3 p.m., you have 25 minutes to read and respond to the first question, 5 minutes to upload your response. Then you've got question 1. So after question 1, you have 15 minutes to respond to question 2, and then you will have 5 minutes to upload your response. Okay, so question 1, longer. It's worth a little bit more than, it's worth a little over half, and it'll have 2 stimulus for you to respond to, 2 stimuli. And it says that it will present you with authentic geographic situation or scenario, and assess the student's ability to describe, explain, and apply geographic concepts, processes, and models as they analyze geographic patterns, blah, blah, blah. So when it says authentic geographic situation, that just makes me think something that's happened in the world. So that's
Miss Smith.
Word.
When I got an email from the AP College Board yesterday, they said I was taking they said I was taking it on at 12, but they said 4 o'clock.
They said 4 o'clock? Good Lord. Thanks for letting me know that, Sky. I will double check on that because I've heard 3 o'clock from everything.
Okay.
I'll let, as soon as I know, I will post about that. Thanks for telling me that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, side note, I can't handle the College Board because they're requiring all students to take the test at the same time, and there are a lot of students in foreign countries that take AP Human Geography, so they're expected to take the exam at like 2 in the morning. That's insane. That's insane. You can't do that. You can't have a teacher give you a test at 2 in the morning. You should be sleeping then, or doing something other than human geography. I don't know. That's just nuts. All right, I will check with College Board about that. And thank you for that. And then just coming back here, yep, this is the information about it. with the stimulus sounds scary, but it really is just a graph or a map. So stimulus is usually pretty helpful, especially if you're confused about the question by any means. But since you can use your notes, hopefully that won't happen. But it's usually just to kind of help jog your memory. And so that's what all of that is. And then this is a document that CPS and College Board collaborated on together. And so that's why the formatting here is pretty much a nightmare. But you can zoom in. It says that you're encouraged to use Khan Academy, but there's no Khan Academy for human geography, so there's nothing you can do there, which is frustrating. All right, but with that, I'm going to move over now to, rather than just kind of talk about this, to looking at this. So this is posted now. This is the homework assignment. So if you want to start, I figured we could start working on this together. And if you want, I'm going to just kind of handwrite some notes as we go. You can always stop me if you have cuestiones preguntas. And then if you complete it, then just take a pic and you handwrite it. Just take a picture of it and upload it to Classroom, and you'll get credit for it. So remember, when you're looking at these guys, all of those directions are always going to be the same. Okay, so this isn't a situation where you have to worry about reading the directions. Okay, now what you want to do is when you get it, the FRQ isn't going to have a title. So the first thing you want to do is just look at the stimulus if it gives it to you. So I'm looking at it, and we got number of United States farms by types. Okay. So looking at that graph, can anyone, I have this up, I can't see y'all, but do you want to shout out what's something you notice about the graph? Or it's something you can see that's happening or that it's telling you?
The number of dairy farms is declining.
Perfect. Yep. Perfect observation. It's declining. Okay, so I might even just like make a note. You know, like number with a little arrow down. I mean, it's basically the same thing the chart already has, but, you know, actively writing on or doing something like that helps me stay engaged. And what's going on with organic farms? We got dairy farms are going down. What's going on with organic farms? Could be anyone.
Organic farms are slowly increasing.
Yeah, excellent. They're slowly increasing. And I love that detail about how they're slowly increasing, because this isn't a dramatic rise. It looks like dairy farms like really plummeted, but with organic farms, not so much. Okay, and then when we're looking at this, it's got 1970 is the year that it started. Would an organic farm be a big deal before 1970?
No.
No, yeah, no, it's not.
No.
It's not. And why is that? What's the big deal about organic farming? Why do people say you should buy organic foods?
Because there's no GMOs.
Yeah, no GMOs. Were there GMOs before 1970?
Mm-mm.
Yeah, no. So like the type that we think of, no. So the Green Revolution is the big thing that happens here before this chart gets going. And Green Revolution, think about, we're using chemical GMOs, and we're using pesticides and fertilizers. Organic farms don't like that. Okay, so they don't like any of that stuff because which is why they also say when you get, if you're buying organic, like buying an organic banana isn't a big deal because it's got the peel, and so you're not going to really get that benefit from it. But if you're buying a berry, like blueberries, you should buy organic because with the surface area, they'll get a lot more pesticides on it if they're not organic. At least that's what the hippies say. So, I mean, I'm all for organic, but I'm on a budget. Cool. So that's a lot of information to get just from looking at it. And that's all stuff that us talking about it takes a couple minutes, but all of you will be able to figure out just in a couple seconds from looking at it. All right. So now looking down at this question, agriculture in the United States has changed significantly in the past few decades. Cool. With respect to the past, present, and projected trends in agriculture shown in the diagram above, answer the following. Okay, so here, part A, identify 2 factors contributing to the change in the total number of dairy farms since 1970. Okay, so I'm going to go part A, 2 factors leading to the number of dairy farms. All right, so I'm going to start it out. 1 factor that has contributed to, and with this, when it says the change in dairy farms, I can either repeat what it says, change in dairy farms, or I can say the decline. Okay, if like with this, I would write decline. Because that's showing that you understand the change. I'm writing this down. Okay, and so that's it. So right away, even if I'm not sure, I can write all of that to get started. Okay, and then once I have that written, if I'm not sure, I can take a second to kind of pause and think about it. Okay, so one thing I can think about is like, okay, why do we not have as many dairy farms? And then you could think about, well, I love GMOs. And so I've seen really scary pictures on PETA of cows with like enormous swollen udders. And so it's probably just because cows can produce more milk, so you don't have to have as many farms. Right, so that's something I could think of just right there. So cows can produce more milk today than they used to. So 1 factor is cows can produce milk. Okay. And with that, that's very straightforward. It's not fancy because it really doesn't have to be. And it's a way that you can rely on what you know about human geography, but you can also rely on just what you know about everything. You know, if you think of everything as human geo, then there's some way that you can use what you know and what you experience and connect it back to the question. Right, so that could be one reason. Okay, another reason I could think of is that if I'm like, well, we don't have as many dairy farms, I would just think like, well, dairy farms probably take up a lot of space. And we have fewer farms because cities are growing. Okay, so then that could be the second thing, right? Another factor, I'm just gonna write it just like that. Contributed to the decline in dairy farms. And I'm just gonna write the whole thing out, including since 1970. Is We have the expansion of cities. And fewer people living in rural areas. And I'll hold this up in just a second. All right. All right. So that answers both parts of the question right there. You restate the question. It's not anything outside of what you can kind of infer or assume. If you're just like kind of like, why are there not that many dairy farms? You could just think, I live in a city. That's why I'm not seeing a dairy farm. And that could work. Don't use I. Never use I. Or whatever you do, don't use I. Now, if you're reading that and you're like, like Miss Minnie, there's no way in 1,000 years I could have come up with that. Cool. This is when you get to use your textbook. Okay, so one thing you could have used for it is your textbook, and then we get into key issue 4 is all about future issues with agriculture. So if you want, you can refer back to the book there. And I would even bookmark that whole section about why do farmers face sustainability challenges. I would just bookmark it because sustainability is a section that they love. So which page is that? That is page, that section starts on page 332. Okay. You can use your book, but use your book smart. I could have written that smaller. You can, yeah, you can use your notes. You can use your book. You totally can, but it's 25 minutes. That's not tons of time. So if you're going back to your notes a lot, you're taking away your writing time. Right, and then with this answer would have earned credit. And this is where it's hilarious because I have this teeny tiny guy right here. But 2 of the factors that they give credit for, one of them is increased production of milk, and the other one is displacement by urbanization. If we say cows can produce more milk, that gives you the credit. And saying that more people, the expansion of cities, that gives you the credit for urbanization. You don't have to use the actual term in order to get credit for it, as long as you're kind of referring to the definition or the concept. Okay, does that make sense a little bit? So if you yeah. So if you can't remember the word, it's okay. It's not a tragedy by any means. All right. Which is great because traditionally with the AP exam, that was not the case, and I appreciate it. All right, and so then let's move on to, ooh, bud, I think my dog's having a dream. All right, explain how one of the factors you identified in A contributed to the change in the total number of dairy farms since 1970. All right, so that's explain, which means we're gonna add a little bit more. Okay, and so then I'm just gonna take one of the things from up here, whatever's probably easier, and then use that to answer the question. So I'm gonna restate it there. So the ability for, sorry, this is not well written, but whatever, for cows to produce more milk contributed to the decline in dairy farms because blank, right? So even without knowing it, you can get that much written down. And in the process of writing it, then again, you can kind of start spinning in your head what might contribute to that. So if cows can produce more milk, why do you think you need fewer dairy farms? What do you think?
There's less demand for dairy farms.
Okay, so we don't. So okay, great. So I like the way you're thinking. You're thinking like an economist too. There's less of a demand for dairy farms. We don't need to. So we don't need to have as many dairy farms. Why?
Because you can meet the demand easier of dairy products.
Yeah, perfect. Okay. Because we can. So now I like the way that you wrote it. Easier to meet the demand for dairy. Okay, with fewer farms. Excellent answer. Now the trick here is to remember the formula that's just one sentence and that question is asking you to explain. So you can't finish it with that. Okay, so then where you're at, you want to make sure that you have at least one extra sentence. So one thing that you could think of for that is for fewer dairy products with fewer farms. Okay. So the number of dairy farms would decrease as it no longer became profitable for small farms versus agribusiness. Yikes. Okay. So that's a pretty dense sentence, but that covers all your bases right there. If you can't think of agribusiness, or if you're having trouble wording it, then always feel free to start it with a for example. And I can think of a number of students. I mean, one who's coming to mind right now is Layla, but Layla or Michael sometimes, where when you guys are kind of getting a concept, you're like, so wait, is it like when this happens? And yes, that's the way that you can phrase it. So, I mean, I feel like that's good because you have the language in your head, and that's some pretty intense thinking that is very impressive. So there you go. All right, so then moving on, because I don't want to keep you guys all day. C and D are basically the same format as A and B. So you'll structure your responses the same way. And we already took notes on what could contribute, factors that could contribute to the increase in organic farms. So for one thing that we could say is it was a response to the Green Revolution where people didn't like the use of pesticides. So that's one thing that you could say. And then this is one where you can get use future questions. If you're really stumped sometimes on a question, and you're like, well, I'm not sure about the second one, get the first part for D written down, you know, kind of based on the notes you already have. And then you can look ahead to different parts of the question to get a clue. So here in part F, I'm seeing sustainable agriculture. That's one place you could look. You could also refer to your book, where in that last section, it talks about organic farming. So this is where you would want to do it. If you haven't read this section and you're going into something blind, that's going to make it more challenging for you. If you're a bit familiar with it, then it's easier to hop around a little bit. Okay. If you are taking the exam and you find yourself really reading a section, then you're spending too much time on it. You should really be kind of skimming it. Okay, so here, if we're just kind of looking at it, no matter what for skimming, what I would do is look at the first paragraph and then can I get any clues from the graphics or perhaps the bullet points? That can always be helpful. If in your soul, you know, this is all about real talk, if you're like, I hate the book or I didn't bring the book home with me and there's no way I'm looking at PDFs that you post online, cool, I get it. I posted this yesterday for everyone. So yeah, shout out to Mesa for the suggestion. This is a YouTube video that goes over everything. It's also 2 hours, so dang. If it were me, I would just kind of hop around as I were watching it if I were gonna watch the whole thing, but a 2-hour YouTube lecture is a lot. This is another resource you guys have. So you can flip through this. And this is an overview of the entire unit. So here we've got stuff on, if you get a question that is about the pros and cons of the Green Revolution, then you have a whole page here that goes over that. Here we have something about the different agricultural regions, the decline in small farms. So if you're flipping through this and you see this note, then you could use any of this on the dairy section. So any of these things would work. Von Thunen's my boy. Then consequences of agricultural practices, that's there. Challenges, where's my organic? And then sustainable solutions, here's where we get organic agriculture. So everything here, at a minimum, if you're like, there's no way I'm going to be checking out the book, this is a really concise summary of everything. You can also get down here about how awesome organic farming is. Where did it go? All right, yeah. People love organic farming because it promotes sustainable and biodiverse ecosystems. Yeah. Cool. So that's where you can get the information for that. The extent to which government policies do it. In the book, there's a whole section on government policies for it. So when it says discover the extent that it affects the number of farms, you could say government policies could affect the change in the total number of farms because of this. If it says analyze to what extent, you want to have at least 2 up to 4 sentences for it. 2 up to 4. Don't go beyond that. But you don't want it to be just one. It's very rare in a grading that you can write one sentence in an analyze question and get credit for it. I don't remember it happening from my reading experience, but we'll see. The readers are really freaking out right now about what's going to happen. That's the thing.
Miss Missy?
Yes.
What pages are the organic farm?
Organic farming 344.
Thank you.
Yep. And that'll help you answer everything for C, D, E. Yeah, C, D, and E. Oh, and F, because organic farming is part of sustainable agriculture. I will say that part G is page 342. Okay, I'm gonna go 3. Okay, there we go there.
Thank you.
I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to stop sharing this now. Hey, okay. All right, and so there you go. And for discuss the criticism, again, about 2 sentences. Don't go much longer than that. Maybe 3, but it's not one of those where more examples will get you more credit, because the reader's just going to see, like, can I give them a point here? Yes, no. Like, they want to give you a point as soon as possible. Okay. Things with agriculture that they're going to be the most interested in my opinion, are going to be things related to GMOs, organic farming, and sustainability. If they ask a question about agriculture, it would probably be about one of those things. So I'll just write down, let's write those down. So sustainability and agriculture, global agriculture, and undernourishment, GMOs, and organic farming, and women and agriculture. Those are the things that they would probably ask about if they asked an agriculture question. Don't know what the chances are going to be of that, but it could happen. They like asking questions about women because people keep bombing those questions. People say a lot of crazy things about women. So generally with women, you don't want to say that if a woman weren't working, she would just be having babies all the time. That's what you don't want to say. Don't say that. Especially because a lot of people grading it are ladies. Not that many actually. Patriarchy. All right. But yes, and as I put those guys in the box there, you could think about if you have your textbook, get sticky notes or rip off like little pieces of paper. And then you can kind of just start flagging parts in your book. So you could, for GMOs, don't worry about reading everything, just use the table. And so you could just write GMOs and a flag there. If you don't have your textbook, then you don't have your textbook. What you can do then is go to the document that I posted. And rather than, if you're looking at it and you're like 17 pages, this is too long, then maybe focus less on the sections that get into the different agricultural revolutions and focus more on those issues with sustainability, women in agriculture, etc. So it's not about getting everything. It's about just getting the things that you recognize as being relevant. So if you haven't heard anyone talking about it anytime, then it's probably not coming up. So, like the first agricultural revolution. So, yeah. Or maybe people are talking about that. I don't know. Could be. Yeah. So yeah, use your common sense. Think about your familiarity with it. Think about no matter what, you can think about when it comes. If it talks about organic farming, you can think about what do you know about organic products. You go to school technically across the street from a Whole Foods, so it shouldn't be too much of a stretch. You don't have to be an expert on organic farming to talk about it. You know, you could say, even if you said something like, people like organic farming because it's healthier, you know, I could find a way as a grader to find some points for you there. So complete sentences, everything, restating the question, just enough specifics, maximum length of one section is probably going to be about 4 sentences, maybe 5. Don't go beyond that because you don't have a lot of time. When you take the exam, you'll be doing it at home and no one's keeping time for you. Unless you have like a parent at home and they can like shout at you like 10 minutes or whatever. But if you don't have that, or a little sister or a cat or something, then you're on your own. So you just need to make sure that you don't post something late. They're 100% not taking anything late. So watch your time, bookmark sections of your book that you think are helpful if you have it, or if you don't, write it down in a separate note, and then we'll take time before the exam to organize our notes. I meant to say this just for full transparency, because I don't want you guys to be like, what? With the exam, this is the first and only time ever that I am actually going to be able to see your exams. So I'll be able to see your written exams. Does that mean that if you didn't do well on the exam that you're going to fail the class? No. Okay. In a way, it's good because me being able to see your exams means that I can give you credit for the course. So if you don't do well on the AP exam for whatever reason, don't think that you're going to fail this class, because you won't. Okay, I'm going to use that so we can discuss it together. So that way, maybe you did have a complete panic attack on the day of the test, then we can talk about what to do next time. So next time you're in a similar testing situation, you don't have a panic attack. But I'm not interested in taking credit away from anybody. So this is all just about what can we do to help you.
Since the AP exam is going to be all FRQs and stuff, is it still going to be graded like 3 out of 7 is still passing, or?
I wouldn't. Yeah. Ooh, yeah. Let me see. I think you might need to get 4 out of 7 on each one. Okay. I think 4 out of 7 on the first one and 3 out of 7 on the second one. Ooh, maybe more. I'm not sure. Let me ask some of the AP teachers about that.
Okay.
Oh God, yeah, I don't know. Cause I don't know if you guys think this. Some people think that if something is open note, then a student should get 100 on it, and that's just not the way life works. If you've ever taken an open note test and you haven't gotten 100% on it, then you know it's not as easy as that. Mm-hmm. So I'm not sure where they're going to be at in terms of their expectations. I hope that they're kind. Some people think that students can, during a global pandemic, just do 10 hours of homework and everything's cool. I think that's stupid. So I don't know. I don't know. I will ask them to see what they say when it comes to that. What should we be aiming for?
Okay.
All right, so I've got that. And so I'm going to ask about double checking on the time of the test. And I'll relay that 4 o'clock was messaged.
Miss Smizzy, do you think that one of the FRQs are going to be on population?
Yes, and it's a gamble, so I don't want to put all my eggs in that basket. But if you just look at that language when it says that it wants it to be authentic. Oh wait, not you. I'm back. Sorry. Just bear with me with a second here. No, ooh, I picked the wrong one. Yeah. So here's what the College Board said. They said that it's going to be an authentic geographic situation. And so we are in an authentic human geo situation right now. This couldn't be more human geo. So I would be surprised if they didn't have something about that.
All right.
Yeah, that just makes a lot of sense to me. Something with women, if they can, they like saying things about women, and so that would be related. If they say anything about women, then always think about like demographic transition and women having more access to education and job opportunities. And with that, it's not necessarily that women just stop caring about kids. It's that social norms change. So social norm is anything that people think is normal to do. So back in the day, people thought that it was crazy for women to have jobs. That's not the case anymore.
Right. Makes sense.
Cool. All right, so I don't want to keep you guys much longer tomorrow. So if you do the work, again, it's going to go in as basically 100% or incomplete. I would just do it because no matter what you do, if you upload something, you can get the credit. And the number one priority, I would say, is making sure that you guys get credit for all your classes this year, given the kind of uncertain situation we're in about whether or not we're going back to school. So, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not anything that, like, there's no teacher that's like, oh, yes, I'm going to have all my students repeat my class again, or summer school money. It's not like that. We just want to make sure that you could stay on track to graduate the way that you should.
That's good.
Yeah. No, I think so too. Okay. Oh, Josh, I recorded it, buddy. So I'm going to post it. Yeah. Yeah, I recorded it because I know a couple of people had a similar situation. So I recorded it. Hopefully it's helpful. If it's not, then at me anytime, really. Send me an email and I will help out as best I can. All right, but that's it. So if you guys want to go, I'm not sure if you got more e-learning or maybe do some Netflixing or something. I don't know, draw something, take a nap, get on.
I've taken a lot of naps.
So do I. It's been. Do you feel rested? It's really weird. I feel like my face looks different. All right. Well, you guys, you have a wonderful day, and I will. I'll be back tomorrow at 1. Okay.
Bye.
How do you leave? You know what?